would do is they would put some material that would be refused classification on that site, on that one page within that site. Then they would spam all of the people who would be interested in looking at this material. And we were advised by international agencies that this is what was happening. And so it was blocked internationally. It was never blocked in Australia. And then it went away. So the dentist that people say, well, how could you possibly block a dentist? Because the Russian mob hacked his site. Well, not his site directly, but they actually entered into using his web address. So I don't actually have a problem with wanting to try and combat the Russian mob putting, and I'm not exaggerating, putting material that will be refused classification and then trying to publicise it worldwide. And to give you an example of the sort of success they can have, they targeted a while ago the Czech astronomy services, and within an hour or two of them sending out their spam, 12 million people had accessed vile child porn that was attached to the Czech astronomy site. So when people want to laugh about how could a dentist end up here or a travel service end up here, there are legitimate reasons why the international authorities who are chasing these organisations, and they move around. So that's the dentist story. It's really as simple as that. Now, the second list which has appeared appears to be closer. I don't actually know what's on the list, but I'm told by officials at ACMA it appears to be closer to the actual legitimate list. Now,
can I interrupt once again, because there's a story in the Sydney Morning Herald website today saying that a link containing a series of photographs of young boys by Bill Henson is actually on this blacklist. Bill Henson, back in the media for reasons of censorship. Is he on the list?
The Classification Board looked at this website and actually said it's PG. And a technical error inside ACMA, I'm advised, but literally a technical error, included it. But it was actually cleared by the Classification Board, so it shouldn't have been on the list. Now, I've asked ACMA in the last few hours to go through their entire list again to see if there's any other examples of this. And at this stage, and they're piling their way through it overnight, they found this one site that falls into this category where it's been misclassified, not by the Classification Board, but by the ACMA technology that they've been doing.
Can I interrupt you? I feel completely surprised to be sitting here hearing you use the language, a Labor Minister for Communication, using such terminology as blacklists, banned material. I thought that we shared a value in Australia around free speech, around our democratic capacity to see this material and to think about it ourselves. And that all I'm hearing, the last time I heard about blacklists was Joe McCarthy's Senate hearings, and I feel extremely uncomfortable and disturbed that you are actually, with great ease, talking about blacklists. And that you're happy to, just let me finish, sorry, and that you're really comfortable with secret lists, that people can complain with all of their vested interests and all of their, and lobbying instincts can come to ACMA, complain, and that there's a secret kind of process. So we neither know and have an open discussion about these sites, about the problem, for example, of pedophilia. No, we don't have an open debate. We have a secret process. And then you're going to say, I'm going to manage the internet. I'm going to manage what comes into your home. And I think your story about the dentist is a paradigmatic story about how you failed to control it. You failed to control the Russian mob, just like I can't control Svetlana.
OK, let's hear from Andrew Bott, because he wanted to get in on that discussion as well.
This absolutist thing of there being absolutely a right of free speech untrammelled by any consideration of what it might do to others, is that really what you're arguing?
Absolutely. I want to argue against pedophilia in the public sphere. I think it's reprehensible, and I think we should argue those ideas in the public sphere. I didn't know.
You told me not to interrupt you,
You're
please.
Quite right.
So I'm just trying to establish, should anyone be able to watch and publish and distribute anything at all they like? Anything at all, like, I know, father having sex with his children, Fritzl, the guy in Austria, videos of him having sex with his daughter, anything like that. You think there should be absolutely no barrier? Jihadist material, anything?
Will I answer the question?
I think you better.
And well, my view as a publisher is that we argue those ideas, that there are reprehensible ideas. What I find reprehensible, you don't. What you find unpalatable, I don't. I want to fight you in the public sphere.
So
I want to fight you on...
yes.
That's absolutely. May a thousand ideas bloom, and let's contest them, because that's what tells us that our democracy is robust.
OK, we've got a couple of people with their hands up in the audience. Hang on, Andrew. First of all, this gentleman here has got his hand up.
Andrew, you really raised my ire with your comment about jihadists, because that's my worry. We don't see the list, we don't know what's on the list, and when do we know what's going to get added to the list? And the next thing is not just kids at Monash getting arrested for reading books, it's somebody who goes to the issue of paedophilia, reprehensible, you know, we're in agreement. But you just said jihadist. Now, why can't somebody, under the ideas of democracy and freedom of speech, visit a jihadist site? If it's racial vilification, if it's an incitement to genocide, there's issues in Australia. But we're still talking about freedom of speech. And that's where I worry about the whole issue.
Let's hear from the Minister.
The Broadcast Services Act, under which the blacklist works, has got nothing to do with political content. You would have to change the Act. Now, even my harshest critics are not suggesting we're trying to change the Act. What they say is, oh, we're worried about what might happen in the future. But there is no suggestion, there has never been a suggestion, and there will never be a suggestion, as Louise says, from a Labor government that we're going to look at banning political material. This is the existing standards by which current newspapers, current TV shows, current radio shows are judged. There is no change to the criteria. Attempts to suggest that what we have been talking about are about political content are simply misleading. Simply misleading. Mischievously misleading at times.
Susan Carlin, let's hear from you.
I
mean, you had some concerns earlier on. You've heard the Minister. Is he addressing the concerns in what he's saying?
Well, to an extent, I'd still like to know exactly... So you said, is ACMA the body that will be deciding what is appropriate and what is not? What is permissible to be seen and what is not?
At the moment, there's a combined function between the Classification Board and an ACMA official. Now, given that we might be moving under the policy to a new situation, I've actually been saying in the last few days, I think we need to make sure that people have confidence about the process. At the moment, there is the Classification Board, and people will sometimes say, I agree with the decisions I made, or I disagree with the decisions they've made. But by and large, there's a public confidence that the Board makes reasonable decisions, not always ones that everyone agrees with. So I'm keen to make sure people have confidence that as we move to a new scenario, that the Classification Board continues to have the paramount role. And I'm happy to make sure and discuss ideas about making sure that an ACMA official, who I don't know the name of, just in case anyone's worried I'm phoning them saying, hey, put Andrew Bolt on the column, on the blacklist. I'm sure. So I think it would be a very good idea to encourage that sort of change to ensure that people have the confidence that they currently have in the Classification Board. I am going to disagree with Louise that everything should be free. And I think the Labor government is going to disagree with Louise that it should just be laissez-faire. Okay. I believe in a civil society, and a civil society does not have a Wild West laissez-faire culture.
But a lot of people with their hands up. First of all, I want to go to Timothy Wilson.
Thank you. Senator, I've actually viewed the blacklist on WikiLeaks, and you're actually able to click on all of the sites on it. And I've noticed that according to that list, you've chosen to use the internet filter to block adult pornography, when in fact probably the real risk to children, other than child pornography, is innocuous sites such as Facebook and chat rooms.
Look, firstly, as I said, we've actually not added anything to the list at all. This is the existing law that's been in place for 9 years, and it's a list that they go through every few months, and they sweep it to try and take ones that have now become redundant and add new ones on. So this is the existing one. We've added nothing. Can
I just leap in, because you've got to answer the Facebook question. Let me just jump in, though. What's going to happen to people who are downloading the WikiLeaks site and looking at what's on it, which is effectively banned material, according to you, on a blacklist. Are you going to try and arrest all those people? The Commonwealth Police going to be investigating who's looking at that and looking at their computers and trying to find it?
The system doesn't quite work like that. They issue takedown notices. If someone tries to publicise it, people can go and look at some material that's on that list, and having a look at it is not a crime. It's if you...
Is this a fabrication of WikiLeaks, or is this something that you wanted to do in the future?
As I said, the first list, which is the one that most people make fun of, is not the list. The list had 1,300 things listed on it. This had over 2,000. Now, I don't know where they got that from. People have suggested to me that it came from a company that runs a filter, and they themselves had added material to it themselves as part of their corporate operation. But it was not the government list. It
Would you publish the list, Senator, so people can actually...
Sorry?
Would you actually consider publishing the list?
Look, the whole purpose of the list is to stop access from people getting access to sites that include pro-rape sites, pro-incest sites, pro-child pornography sites, and pro-incest sites. I mean,
but you could filter that, Senator, and still publish the list, so people can't actually access it, but there's an element of transparency there whereby they can say, well, look, this site's obviously got a bad name to it, it's probably not a good site, but some sites might seem innocuous. Publishing the list
would defeat the purpose of having the list. Now, this is a genuine conundrum. This is a genuine conundrum. Okay?
But it is a genuine conundrum because the list has been published for you, and that...